So the Senate is expected to pass a spending bill today that will fund the government for the rest of the year. Now, the bill cleared a vote to cut off debate yesterday with bipartisan support and is expected to pass the House later this week. Next up, the bigger fight, though, the long-term budget deficit, and the House is poised to take up Congressman Paul Ryan's budget tomorrow. Joining me right now, Republican Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. Congresswoman, it's great to have you here, and I want to start out by showing everybody these new poll numbers out. They show that both sides have really taken a hit when it comes to the budget fight. 67% disapprove of the way that the president has dealt with the budget. 79% disapprove of the Republicans on this. People at home think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Will those numbers push both sides to find a compromise before it's too late, before the numbers continue to go down any further?
You know, Thomas, I think you're right. They do want to see a resolution to this, and what they're wanting to see a resolution first is the out-of-control spending. Get this out-of-control spending under control. And that's what we hear from both sides of the aisle, from our constituents, regardless of whether they're Democrat, Independent, Republican, Libertarian, you name it. They say Washington spends too much, you don't have a revenue problem, you have a spending problem, get it all under control. So that is what we've done in the Ryan budget, is try to find a way to, within 10 years, come into balance and make all of this get back on a spending plan so that we move to a healthy, productive economy that will also help grow our way out of this situation.
Congressman, one thing, though, that we have House Speaker John Boehner and the Republican Senator Rand Paul, they have differing views on whether we're truly in a debt crisis at this moment or not. Take a listen.
We do not have an immediate debt crisis, but we all know that we have one looming.
We do have an immediate problem. It's gathering storm. It's going to be enormous.
All right, gathering storm, it's going to be enormous there from Rand Paul. How come there is such a disparity among Republicans not being on the same page of whether we're in a debt crisis or not?
Well, I think you can look at $16 trillion worth of debt. And while it may not be a crisis today, it is definitely a problem. And Rand Paul is right. It is looming, and it is going to be an enormous deal, because if you stayed with the president's budget, the path that it puts you on is by 2022, you're going to have $25 trillion worth of debt. And what we are saying, and what Speaker Boehner is saying, is we still have time to manage through this so that it does not get away from us. Managing through it means that we stop the out-of-control spending, that we stabilize our trust funds, Medicare and Social Security, and that we deal with our entitlements, the largest of which is Medicaid.
But the president has put
House
those cuts.
Republicans have a plan.
Congressman, the president, though, has put the cuts potentially for entitlement programs on the table. The big linchpin here is discussing revenue. And that's not an option.
The president got his revenue.
Well,
he got that first. He got that first. He got his revenue first.
So there's no discussion of revenue to come. It was a compromise on revenue of what the president wanted.
Well, he got his revenue. He has gotten his revenue. Obamacare has 21 new taxes. My goodness, I'd like to get rid of Obamacare in total and rid of those taxes. You've got to look at some of these other components of the problem, and you cannot tax your way out of this. Quite frankly, I liked the Kogan-Taylor op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today that shows our budget with the stabilization, pulling back on all of those spending components and putting ourselves in a position of growth would give us household income growth of $1,500 in 2014 and $4,000 per household within this 10-year window. And what we're saying is you got to get this under control. Now, the president wants to continue to spend and put new spending in place by getting new revenues. That's not workable. The American people don't want that. They want to see some spending restraints, some control, some common sense brought to bear in this budget process.
Congressman, I want to get you on the record, though, about Senator Rand Paul coming out in support of comprehensive immigration reform. And right now it looks like it's Rand Paul, the Senate Gang of 8, and Democrats against the House Speaker on a path to citizenship. Is it time for Republicans to figure out what their proper tune is on this and come to a comprehensive message on immigration reform?
Quite frankly, I like the fact that we're having a big tent discussion about this. I'm one of those individuals that says, let's talk about a path to a green card. Rand Paul says a path to citizenship is what I read today. But see, the thing is this. We're having a good discussion. We're not on talking points and everybody making the same point. You've got our side of the aisle having a good discussion with our constituents about these issues. Quite frankly, I think that's really healthy, and that's what the American people want to see.
Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
We are going to